How's it going, everybody? Combo here. As you read by the title today, we have 5 quick R-301 tips to make you an R-301 god. The R-301 as a whole, probably the most versatile auto in the entire game right now, mostly just because of the addition of the Anvil Receiver back into the game. So, without further ado, not going to talk your head off. If you like it, do what you want to do with that. If you don't like it, as I always say, tell me it was shit. I would love to hear it and improve upon my video. Anyways, everyone, let's get right into it. Starting us out with tip number 1, we have what I believe to be the most important part of the R-301, which is controlling its recoil. We'll get more into how to do that in other ways later on, but right now we're just going to talk about full auto. As you can see right here, this was from about 30 meters away, one full clip, holding on the trigger, not holding down the recoil at all. As you can see, the bullets initially start off kind of rough. They jump really high, and then they kind of level themselves out as you get further in the magazine. The closer you are, the less noticeable this is, but it is still something to take in mind. So right here, we're going to do the same thing. As you can see, from closer ranges, you still have that initial kick, which still, if you're not watching yourself, can lose you gunfights. Long range especially. So, the easiest way to minimize this is when you initially engage on a target, you just want to aim a little bit lower. So right here, we're about medium to close range on this target. What we're going to do is we're initially going to start at just about the hips, and as you'll see, our weapon will actually kick up and we'll be able to level it on this person's head. So right here, we're going to start at the hips. As you see right there, it kicks all the way up, 204, easy headshots. Now I'll show you the same thing. If I start center chest like this, as you can see, my weapon's going to kick up really hard. This is with no barrel stabilizer, mind you. You might be able to get away with that with a barrel stabilizer, but I do think it's always better to start down at the hips. That way you get headshots much more consistently. Moving on to number 2, we're going to talk about using this thing in single fire mode. Now this is not with the Anvil Receiver, and we're going to talk about why you may or may not even want to use it. So, single fire with the R-301 is criminally underrated. This thing has extremely low bullet drop, as you can see right here. I'll aim directly at this target, and I'm going to hit. And it has amazing recoil controls, so if you get really good at just maintaining recoil, as you can see right there, 168 from range, very easily. The further away you get, this does get a little bit more difficult, but also I have no attachments on this thing. This is just a base R-301 that's able to hit pretty much, as you can see right there, every single shot, as long as I'm pacing myself. If you do not have the Anvil Receiver, and you get about, I'd like to say 50 meters back, the R-301 is very good at this range. People just don't use it that way. Though you may not win to things such as a scout, as long as you're pacing your shots, this thing can still be a contender. Moving on to tip number 3, we're finally going to touch on the Anvil Receiver. Now, I'm going to talk about a few misconceptions, as I do think this thing is pretty straightforward. So, as we all know, the Anvil Receiver makes 2 bullets turn into 1, and you're just going to do a 35 damage to the body and a 70 damage to the head. This is a potential 3-tap, although with helmets and such, I don't really think it's worth to go for headshots on this thing. I know that sounds crazy. I think the most important thing with Anvil Receiver is just to be getting consistent damage, because especially at longer ranges, hitting headshots, especially with something like this, is not very realistic. So longer ranges, just go for damage. Headshots are a possibility, but really, you know, take them when you can kind of thing. Another misconception about this thing is people seem to think that it affects your bullet drop, making, 2 bullets would make the gun drop more. This is not true. Right here, we're going to shoot in full auto at this target right here. As you can see, we will hit single fire with Anvil Receiver. We will also hit. I'll even go as far as the super far targets here in the back. As you can see right here, we are going to shoot just about here. That should hit. Okay. Same thing with our Anvil Receiver, and we hit. This does not change your bullet drop. It is the exact same as shooting a base R-301. Moving on to tip number 4, we have a couple do nots with the R-301. Now, as we know, certain weapons in the game, such as our heavy weapons, have extremely good inner accuracy. The wingman right here is a perfect example. So as you can see this target right here, if we fire off our wingman shots, they're all going to hit, pretty much. Very consistent. But if we try that same thing with the R-301, we are not going to be as lucky. As you can see, our accuracy cone right here goes crazy, and yeah, no, not so good. Same thing if we try the wingman from higher up in the air like this. As you can see, as long as we're casing our shots nicely, we can hit all of them. Even from longer ranges like this, most of our shots are going to hit. R-301, not at all. As you can see right here, right on target, my shots are going to spray a circle around him. So, do not fire this thing from the air. Also, you should never be hip firing this thing. As you can see right here, our accuracy cone goes crazy when we hip fire. Yes, some of our shots are going to hit, but why would you do it? The only time I would say, maybe hip fire it is if you're directly in somebody's face like this. As you can see right here. maybe, but even then you're missing shots. It just makes more sense to aim down sights to this thing, as it's so consistent at pretty much every range, as long as you know what you're doing, so just don't hip fire it. And finally, last but not least, what makes this the most versatile weapon and what really changes how you engage with it is your sight choice. I do really believe, and I know I put this on pretty much every weapon, this to be extremely important with this. Overall, in my opinion, if you are using the Anvil Receiver, you have to go with the 2-4, assuming you can find one. This is the best sight for this weapon. If you're using no Anvil Receiver, you don't really need this. I would stick to the 2x HCOG, but if you do have an Anvil, the 4x is going to make it much, much better. Now you can use the thing about the same range you'd be using a Scout. So, see right here. Very, very easy to hit my shots. Let's say we want to go further back on these targets over here. Very, very easy to get that bullet drop down. Now, obviously, don't fire this in full auto like this, because then you're not going to know what's happening, but some people may like that. It's really up to user preference there. If you do not have the Anvil, as I said, the 2x HCOG I think is going to be your best bet, because yes, you can still go full auto with this thing quite easily. You can aim a little bit lower there like I showed earlier, and the single fire is even better like this, because as I said, you have more control and you have better zoom of where your shots are going to be landing. So for further distances, as I showed off earlier, the 2x is going to make stuff like that extremely easy. Anyways, everyone, I do hope you enjoyed this one. I tried to make it a little bit quicker. There's been some comments saying, like, you know, quick tips, and then it's like 20 minutes long. So I'm like, all right, you know, I'll try to shorten it up a little bit. Let me know what you guys thought, you know, trying something a little bit different. If you did enjoy, you know, thank you. You can do something with that. I don't know. If you didn't like it, you can just tell me it's shit. You know, I get plenty of those every day. You little clickbaiting fucking loser. I get that a lot. Anyways, everyone, this has been Combo. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying around. Stay home, stay safe, and peace out.